The Detroit Lions just picked up their 9th win on the 2023 NFL season and have their best record since 1962. So why do I feel like there's still something missing from this team at this point in the season? What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Pride of Detroit YouTube channel. I'm Miko, and in today's video, we are once again going to be recapping the Lions win over the New Orleans Saints as they beat the Saints 33-28 and are now sitting at 9-3 on the season. This is the Lions' best start since 1962, and there's a lot of reasons to be excited about this team, about the game that they just had, and trust me, I'm excited about the win. But there are some elements to this team that I'm not quite, really vibing with at this moment. And I'm still feeling like there's something missing in order for us to feel like this team cannot just, again, get to the playoffs, but be successful when they get there. But we're going to get to all that in a little bit in this video. But at the top, I do want to give flowers to the players that really helped lead this team and put us in position to pick up that win and be able to bounce back successfully after losing to the Green Bay Packers on Thanksgiving. And with that said, there's no way we can talk about this game without talking about this Lions rookie class, and specifically starting with Sam LaPorta. Sam having a record-setting day for Lions rookies, putting up 140 receiving yards on 9 receptions and picking up a touchdown as well. Sam has been lights out basically dating back to training camp. And that's always really kind of tough to gauge because sometimes what you're hearing in training camp is just training camp buzz. But Sam has found a way to consistently put those performances on display from training camp to preseason, from preseason into the regular season, and has himself firmly cemented among some of the best tight ends in the NFL right now. Only Kelsey, Hockenson, and Kittle have more receiving yards than LaPorta at this point. However, LaPorta has more touchdowns than all of those guys. Granted, it's by 1 touchdown, but still, Sam has clearly shown that he's not just your average rookie. And if it wasn't for the fact that CJ Stroud was having this ridiculous season down in Houston, I think we would be legitimately talking about how a tight end could actually win Offensive Rookie of the Year this year. But what Sam has been doing specifically for the Lions, having his team, or at least being a part of a team that is in playoff contention and could still have far off aspirations of getting to a Super Bowl, that is nothing short of amazing. And he's found himself to be very reliable, has been a savvy route runner, has been willing to block. And those are things that you just, again, tight end is one of those positions where people typically struggle getting into the NFL. They're typically having to adjust to the fact that they're now playing against grown men and guys who have been in the league for, 5+ seasons and are very adept at being able to take advantage of young tight ends. Sam has yet to look overwhelmed as a rookie and continues to just find ways each and every week to, again, make a play here and there. And then this past Sunday, he was the star that took center stage. But LaPorta wasn't the only rookie to shine this past Sunday. Jahmyr Gibbs continued to have his strong season and was able to chip in another 60 yards on the ground. And again, showed great vision, showed great explosiveness, and clearly showing that he is probably the best running back to come out of this draft class. And that's no disrespect to Bijan, and that's no disrespect to the running back down in Miami. Those guys are having great seasons as well. But Jahmyr Gibbs is showcasing that he can be dynamic in just about every aspect of this offense, as a receiver, as a runner, and he's being an amazing complement to David Montgomery. Then we can flip over to the defensive side where, again, you had 2 rookies over there making plays in both Brian Branch and Jack Campbell. First, starting with Brian Branch, who, again, had his time when he was injured and obviously started off the season amazing with a pick-6 of Patrick Mahomes. He picks up his 2nd interception of the season here on another pass that was tipped, but it was an amazing one-handed grab by Brian Branch. And he's continuing to show that he can cover just about everybody. I saw him lining up against Chris Olave. He was obviously making pass breakups, making tackles, doing everything and kind of still, again, showcasing the ability that helped him get on the field at Alabama as a freshman. And then we moved to Jack Campbell, who got his first true start at Mike linebacker and had a really good performance. Going into this game, listen, Jack's performances had been up and down. He's been playing quite a bit. They've been moving him around, trying to get him as involved as they possibly can on this defense. But that's really hard when you have an Alex Anzalone that's basically playing lights out. You have Derek Barnes playing better than we've seen him in most recent years. Jack finally got a chance to be center stage. And going into this game, at least my personal opinion was, I just didn't want to see Jack get embarrassed. I didn't want to be able to look on the screen, watch that game, and be like, man, they really miss Alex. And that's a credit to Jack that he was able to go through this game, have the second most tackles on the defense, and never once look lost, never once looking out of position. Yeah, I think he bit on a couple play action plays, which again, even the most veteran of defensive players do that. But for the most part, Jack probably had his best game of the season. According to PFF, he was the fifth highest graded defender on the Lions yesterday. And that's big for Jack. Someone that is likely your middle linebacker of the future, to be able to see that he can step in for a veteran like Alex Anzalone, call the plays, and still allow himself to be in position and not be overwhelmed by the moment, making plays in the backfield, making plays from sideline to sideline, being at least in position in coverage at times. These are the things that you wanted to see from Jack when he was picked in the first round. And now that he's starting to, again, get comfortable at that Mike linebacker spot, I'm not sure how much longer Alex is going to be out, but at least with a play like that from Jack, you can at least feel confident that, you know what, the Lions will be just fine at middle linebacker if Anzalone needs to miss a few more weeks. Now, that's some of the good to come out of this game. The not so good of this game, and this kind of hints at what I was talking about earlier, is kind of how I started to feel at the end of this game. The Lions won. They're 9-3. They're in full control of the division. Everything is trending in the right direction when it comes to this team and this franchise right now. But yet, coming out of that game, and you guys can go check my Twitter, or at least you guys can see the tweet here, I was still kind of trying to understand, and I wanted to really be able to see, like, hey, how did people feel after that game? Because me personally, I was not necessarily at my most excited. I was relieved, and that was a really weird feeling to have after a game where you were leading at 21-0. This, for me personally, felt like a game that the Lions almost got a little lucky in. And I don't mean lucky in the sense like, oh, you guys got lucky that, Derek Carr got hurt or anything like that. It just felt like this game went from the Lions having firm control of it to being at a point where you're just like, hey, this is starting to feel more like a dogfight. And if it's not for, a couple of timely stops by the defense or a couple turnovers that they were able to get, you're kind of looking at this team as like they probably were in danger of losing this game. Now, some of you are going to probably hear that and be sitting there like, Miko, why can't you just enjoy the win? Why can't you just be happy that the Lions are winning? That's all that matters. And trust me, I hear you. And it's a feeling that I'm wrestling with myself, right? I am absolutely happy that they won. I'm not necessarily happy with how it went about. Like I ended up saying on Twitter, it kind of was a little bit annoying. It's annoying to know that your team is better than the opponent and that they actually even prove it in the beginning of this game, but then just fail to execute and fail to, kind of live up to the tone that they set at the beginning of this game to allow the opposing team to make it a game. And some of it was, listen, some circus stuff, right? Chris Olave made some plays that probably shouldn't have been made. But at the same time, I always feel like luck is when preparation meets opportunities. And the Saints, for the most part, were prepared for this Lions team. And they just kept chipping away at it. And a portion of that is a credit to them. But then on the flip side, there is a reasonable question of, well, then why isn't this team making the same type of adjustments or, circling the wagons in the same way to be able to keep them from finding success? And that is something that I think this team is lacking, or something that I think this team is still figuring out. And the problem with that is time is running out. Like, this isn't like week 2 and 3 where we're like, oh, the Lions defense is kind of struggling a bit, but they have the rest of the season to figure it out. We're going into week 14. The Lions have 5 more games on the season, and they're having fewer and fewer opportunities to figure out the things that they need to find success. And I'm not even just talking about the defense, because yes, the defense has their woes and they do have a number of things that they need to figure out on that side. But let's not overlook the offense and the fact that, listen, they started the game, first 3 possessions, touchdowns. The next 3 possessions that the Lions had, no points, consistently punting and not getting into scoring position. That's not something that I can easily dismiss just because you won 33-28 or just because you won, period. That is a sign of like, listen, you have to be able to keep your foot on the pedal. You have to be able to continue to grind. I'm not saying that you do what the Miami Dolphins did to the Broncos, But three consistent drives of nothing, being able to then settling for field goals, the fact that, listen, Sam LaPorta had an amazing game, but to sit back and realize that outside of Sam LaPorta as a receiving threat, your passing game didn't really have much going for it. And outside of the fact that you do have a really strong offensive line and really good running backs, your offense was kind of vanilla in a lot of ways. I'm not trying to complain. I'm not trying to be miserable or just be upset with the game because it's not a blowout. But I do think when you look at it and you take a step back and you look at it objectively, like, yeah, there are some things that this Lions team is going to have to figure out even quicker than we were saying in the early parts of the season. And some of these things are reoccurring. Like I said, there are things with the defense where they did a great job. Getting 2 turnovers is huge, and it's something that this team has struggled to do consistently. So if you go into a game and you're able to create 2 turnovers, that's awesome. I don't care how they come, as long as you got them. And they were able to get off the field on third downs in a number of situations. That's awesome. But then you look at 28 points and you look at how they were able to give up the big play and allow the Saints to get into scoring position, and a team that struggled to convert in the red zone, just the week prior or for the majority of the season, comes in against you and they're finding so much success in the red zone, primarily due to the fact that you yourselves have struggled to hold teams from getting touchdowns in the red zone. These are by no means new issues, but they become more magnified and they become bigger issues of concern when you start to consider where this team is and what this team has in front of them. I am by no means saying that this team is, in danger of losing the division or not making the playoffs. I don't believe that for a second. I am by no means threatened by the Bears, the Vikings, or the Packers. Not at all. But you still have to be able to start playing your best football at this time, right? When you start going back, you look at last season and when Dan Campbell was talking about why was his team able to be so successful down the stretch, he pointed to the fact that they were playing their best football at that point in time. And that was one of the reasons why we were all sitting here as a fan base, and even they were sitting there as a team as like, man, if they were able to get in, they were going to be a problem. This Lions team needs to be able to recapture that mojo. They need to be able to recapture that ability to convert and be, efficient in their games. They don't need to blow everybody out. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that they can't have close games because these other teams are trying to upset them too. They're trying to punch their ticket or at least play spoiler to the Lions. That's going to happen. But you would at least as a fan like to see consistent football. And so when people are complaining, or if you feel like they're complaining about a win, I don't think it's necessarily that. I think it's realizing that, you know what? This team still has every opportunity in front of them. And there's no reason to lower those expectations because it's year 3 of a rebuild. You can have whatever expectation you have for this team. If you think they're going to win the Super Bowl, guess what? That opportunity is in front of them. All they have to do is get to the playoffs. And once they get to the playoffs, like I've been saying all year, we will figure that out once we get there, because then it just becomes about winning the next game. We don't have to be Super Bowl ready now necessarily, but they do need to start trending in that direction. They do need to start finding some level of consistent play, because that's what's going to carry you through the postseason is consistent play. And that's something that I think the Lions are still kind of figuring out. But like I said, time's kind of winding down for them to be able to get to that point. And this week against the Bears, they get a chance to be able to showcase that. Are they getting closer to their final form? Are they being able to string together consistent possessions, both offensively and defensively, to be able to either A, control the ball and put up points, or B, be able to at least limit the opposing offense in getting them off the field consistently on third downs? But that's going to do it for this video, guys. I know there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be sitting here like, man, I was expecting something way more positive, way more upbeat, because we're 9-3 and everything is pointing upwards. And trust me, I'm excited. I'm happy with where this team is, and I can't wait to see how they finish the season, because I do think every opportunity for them is still in front of them. But at the same time, I'd be lying to you guys if I came on here and I sugarcoated how good of a win this was, when in actuality, that game was a little bit uglier than I thought it would be. It was a little more competitive than I thought it would be. And I think if we were all honest, it was more competitive than we all thought it would be, especially after that first quarter. But with all that said, let me know what you guys are thinking. How are you feeling after that most recent win? Were you excited? Were you relieved? Were you annoyed? Whatever the feeling it was, I want to hear about it in the comment section below. Also, if you're looking for any more content on the Detroit Lions, be sure to head over to pridedetroit.com, where you can find all the latest articles that we've uploaded over there. And last but not least, Guys, we could really use your help. Hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, share this channel with other Lions fans as we continue to try to grow this community and be able to, give you guys content that you're looking for so that you can have more updated information on the Detroit Lions. But with that said, I'm Miko. Thank you guys for taking the time to watch, and I'll catch you in the next one.